There is a version of the world where flying from New York to London takes 3.5 hours. You just enjoy your drink, watch the curve of the earth out of a hot window, and land before your body even knows you left. That world existed for 27 years. It was real. And then, one April morning in 2003, we chose to end it. Not because of the war, not because of something catastrophic failure of science. We ended it because nobody could figure out how to make it cheap enough, and nobody cared enough to try harder. This is the story of Concorde, but it's really the story of a pattern, a very human pattern of building something extraordinary and then quietly walking away. You know about the space race? Everyone knows about the space race. It had heroes. It had a finish line. It had a moon running parallel to it. Quietly, expensively, almost invisibly, was another race, the supersonic race. The 1950s had given engineers a specific kind of fever. Chuck Yeager had broken the sound barrier in 1947 in a rocket plane over the Mojave Desert. And from that moment, the question wasn't, can we go faster than the sound? It was, can we take the passengers with us? The Americans threw money at Boeing. The Soviets threw money at Tupolev. The British and French government, in an almost uncharacteristically cooperative move, decided to go together, pooling resources into a joint program they called Concorde. The Soviets got there first technically. Their Tupolev Tu-144 flew before the Concorde did, but flying and working are different things. After 55 barely functional flights, Soviet program collapsed. The Tu-144 became a footnote. Concorde became a legend. Here's the thing about the Concorde. It was designed without computers. Every calculation was done by hand, by engineers in short sleeves and skinny ties, surrounded by slide rules and serious smoke. And what they built was genuinely one of the best elegant machine ever flown. The wing alone, they called it an ogival delta. Delta because it was triangular, like the Greek letter. Ogival because of its specific curvature and a shape tuned to generate lift at low speed during takeoff while slashing through drag at Mach 2. No single wing had ever been asked to do both things at once. The paint was formulated to be twice as reflective as a standard aircraft paint, because at twice the speed of sound, the air friction heats the fuselage to temperature that would wrap an ordinary jet. Passengers have described reaching out and touching the windows mid-flight, not warm, hot. The fuel didn't just power the engine, it was pumped around the aircraft, throughout the flight, fore and aft, to shift the plane's center of gravity as a speed change. The fuel was a blast system. That's kind of engineering solution that makes you realize the people who built this were operating on a different level. So what went wrong? Here's where most people reach for an easy answer. The crash. July 25th, 2000, Air France flight 4590. A piece of debris on the runway punctured a tire. Fuel ignited. 113 people died. Concorde was grounded. But the crash didn't kill Concorde. It accelerated a process that was already happening because the real killer wasn't dramatic at all. It was a long, slow accumulation of perfectly reasonable decisions. Each one logical on its own, each one quietly tightening the noose. Decision 1, the sonic boom. When aircraft break the sound barrier, it generates continuous shock wave, a boom that rolls across the ground beneath it. In the 1960s, the U.S. Air Force tested a sonic boom over Oklahoma City for 6 months. Residents reported cracked windows, startled livestock, interrupted sleep. The public revolted. Congress acted. Supersonic flight was banned over land instantly. Every transcontinental route, New York to Los Angeles, London to Tokyo, became impossible for Concorde. It was confined to ocean crossing. The market shrank overnight. Decision 2, the ozone. Concorde flew at altitude normal jet never reached. Scientists raised concerns that its exhaust deposited directly into the stratosphere could accelerate ozone depletion. The larger fleets of supersonic jet might genuinely damage the atmosphere. The studies were consistent, but the political chill was real. When it comes to the economics, at maximum, Concorde carried 120 passengers. A modern wide-body carries 400. Every cost of fuel, crew, maintenance, that spare plane sitting on a tarmac in New York, just in a case, had to be divided by 120 instead of 400. The math simply didn't work unless you charge extraordinary prices. Tickets ran as high as $12,000. That's not a flight, that's a mortgage payment, which created a clientele so demanding that the British Airways and Air France each kept a fully staffed backup Concorde parked and ready at JFK, not earning a single penny, just waiting. And then Airbus, the manufacturer, looked at what would it cost to upgrade an aging fleet of analog aircraft with a modern avionics and decided not worth. So on April 10th, 2003, they announced the end, not with a bang, with a press release. Here's what nobody tells you in the Concorde story. This happened constantly. The history of technology is littered with invention that worked brilliantly, that genuinely advanced what humans could do, and that they were abandoned not because they failed, but because nobody built the infrastructure to make them viable at scale. Pattern is always the same. Brilliant engineering, narrow market, cost that can distribute political headwinds, and a manufacturer who eventually does the math and decide not today. The Concorde wasn't a failure of imagination. It was a failure of ecosystem.